Hello, testing. Looks like my audio is working. I have the Bluetooth headphones set up, no cord today. Noticed a little bit of feedback last time, so hopefully this sounds good. See, we have one or two people watching. Hello, how's it going? While maybe we get a couple. How's it going? Thanks for the message earlier, Les Bones. I'm going to wait until I get the Ukraine stickers, and then I'll send you over a couple little package. So thanks for the email. I really appreciate it. And as always, thanks for watching the streams and always sharing them. Really appreciate it. Hell yeah, Slava inflation. So that's what this stream is going to be about. Peter Thiel did the keynote, or one of the keynotes speeches at the Bitcoin conference in Miami. So we're going to be watching that, and just my thoughts around that. Slava inflation. It's happening. But before I really get into that, I'm going to share a video about I'm going to go over a song, Tame Impala's song called Apocalypse Dreams. Kind of the reason why I named the channel that. So we're going to go over that song before I get into Peter Thiel's speech at the Bitcoin conference. So let me share. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Hopefully you guys enjoy the music that I've been playing at the start of the streams. Maybe I'll keep doing that. Listen to this song. I listen to this all the time. It's been one of the theme songs of my life for a while, because it's about, I guess what I think about when I listen to this song is that, well, I'll go over the lyrics and I'll pause it while we're listening to it, but take a listen to it. I think it's a good way to think about as the apocalypse happens, as things get shitty, there's always like a brighter side to that. So let me just get started. And this isn't the official video, just FYI. Hey Colin, how's it going? Thanks for dropping in. We're going over this song. I think I'm going to start a segment called Revolution Radio or something. Just some of the songs I listen to kind of uh, get me through uh, this evolving revolution, this slow evolving revolution, and things that kept me kind of hyped up and things like that. Music is a huge part of any revolution, and I think maybe I'll start. Maybe the start of my streams will start with a segment called Revolution Radio, and just like a song that gets me hyped up. But basically, the first verse of this song by Tame Impala um, talks about that this could be the day that we push through. It could be the day that all our dreams come true for me and you. Till we're at the end of just another day. Are you So basically, talking to somebody saying that maybe things will get better. Maybe today will be that day. And just keep trying. It says, are you too terrified to try your best just to end up with an educated guess? Like success, like those times you wake up mystified. Um, so I just, first verse of that. Let me continue. Okay, let me go through some of these lyrics. Hello, Lucky Burrito. How is it going? We're going through careful of copyright. Yeah, we're just kind of, that's why I'm pausing it. Also, this isn't although this is, I think, probably the official audio, it's not the official video. And I'm just going over the lyrics. So, chorus here, pre-chorus. Oh, it feels so real in my sleep. Never held something so close I couldn't keep into the day. The strangest feeling. Do you really live without the fear that everything is changing and there's nothing that I can do? My world is turning pages while I'm just sitting here. When I listen to that, I kind of think like, if you are doing nothing, like if you're just doing nothing, the world's going to change without you. So why not just try to do something? In the context of the apocalypse, right? So, all these bad things are happening. Um, we can give up because it is very tiresome to take in all the news that currently happens. But, what can you do? You can do anything. You can do whatever you want to as long as you're doing something. I think it contributes to a better day. So let me continue. Yeah, I guess I'm just taking a chance with the copyright things. If I get kicked off of YouTube, I have like 60 subscribers, so I don't think I'll be missed. But that next verse basically, so, well, am I getting closer? Will I ever get there? Does it even matter? Do I really need it? Push it out the window, on and on we all go. So basically, what I think about during this verse when I'm listening to it is, things can seem daunting trying to make a change, trying to make a better world, and you might feel like doesn't even matter. Will we ever get to a better place? Um, but you should continue anyways, even if you don't see results. Um, And I probably won't go through the rest of the song. It just repeats. But it's a very trippy song. Um, Tame Impala, one of my favorites. So give them a listen. Um, and let's go to yes, YOLO. Anyways, thank you for dropping in. I hope everyone's having a great Monday. My Monday was pretty slow. Um, a lot of my coworkers were traveling, so didn't have a lot of meetings today, which is good. And I work remote, and I work with a new team that's based in India. So my mornings are very busy, but my afternoons are pretty silent because I work with engineering teams based in India. Um, so that's life. I wish work with another engineering team based in Mexico. They have kind of similar working hours as me, but we're not going to be working with them uh, for that much longer. Plus, I'm trying to get a new job, so hopefully I'm not working with any of these guys for much longer. Yeah, so Colin had a great idea. I do have a couple playlists. Actually, let me drop my link. Maybe if you guys want to follow me on Spotify, uh, let me drop my link in the chat. I have a couple playlists. Um, I have a playlist that I started during January 6th called forgot what I forgot what I labeled it. So if you go here, oh, wrong thing. I'm researching the bird flu that's happening right now. So I accidentally copied. I'll be a stream later in the week once I have a little bit more information. But you can go to my version of Linked Tree, Aethras on Universe. You can find all of my links there. Um, Let me plug really quick my Teespring store. So I'm working on some things. In particular, if you want to support my stream, um, and you want to get something out of it without just like giving me money, well, let me just share this. So here's my merch, I guess. It's not labeled as my show or anything like that, or my YouTube channel. Um, So this one, fuck hunger and food waste, fuck climate change, food waste. Food waste is a huge contributor to climate change, and food waste is the reason why people are hungry. Let's go, Brandon, the T-shirt here. COVID 1984, the T-shirt. Educated in Cuba. This is a photo I took in Cuba. Education made in Cuba, education 100% free. Palestine Libre. This is a new shirt. A little olive branch here, inspired by my girlfriend who is Palestinian. So if you want to support, you get a cool T-shirt. If you have any ideas for something I should put in this T-shirt shop, let me know. But we're trying to create some merch that's not really branded to my YouTube channel at all, but just like cool political T-shirts. Okay, so let's finally start watching this. I probably will get a copyright strike for this. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, sorry for that brief pause. Let's go and watch this Peter Thiel at Bitcoin 2022.
To electronic dollars. I think the basic technology is going to take place on the internet. I think the specific platform in the emerging world is going to be on a cell phone platform. If you look at the numbers, there are about 360 million, about 150 million online desktop-based accounts today. That number is projected to grow to about 350 million in the next 5 years. However, with respect to cell phones, internet-enabled cell phones, they're just getting rolled out right now. They already have some significant penetration in Japan, in Finland, in Sweden. They're getting rolled out in Western Europe, the US next year. The numbers are projected to grow from about 10 million internet-enabled cell phones today to about 1 billion in 5 years. In 5 years from now, everybody who is a member of the middle class in the emerging world and in the developed world will have an internet-enabled cell phone. And this sort of a cell, in China, the number is projected to go to something like 300 million cell phones, most of which will be internet-enabled. These people will have access to their bank accounts, and it will be very easy for them to move money into an account in a safe jurisdiction where the banks are not politically controlled, and they will basically be able to completely dollarize the economy. There will be no need to have any rubles or renminbi, and it will be non-traceable. No matter how illegal the Chinese Communist government says it is to hold US dollars, you will have a password on your cell phone, and the only way to stop this process would be literally to shut down the telecommunications network. And that's the kind of choice governments like China, India, some of these other countries are going to face. They will either have to shut down the telecommunications network and make it illegal for you to own a cell phone, or they will have to basically give up the kind of monetary sovereignty they've had and the enormous power that they've been able to wield as a result of this kind of sovereignty over the last many, many years.
Okay, so that start was like Peter Thiel, I think in like 1998 or something, talking about mobile payments on your cell phone and how that was going to take over the world. So here, basically what happens in this speech, I've watched it already. I was watching it, I think it was on Friday. Basically, he says a lot of things, but there's been a lot of talks about um, crypto, blockchain, digital central banking, coins, all that crap. Bitcoin. Peter Thiel is very gung ho on Bitcoin um, versus the blockchain. He's very specific that Bitcoin will be the way over any other kind of blockchain tech. Um, but what was I wanted to say? Oh, I had this thought. So right now in Congress, this is what we have to anticipate. But right now in Congress, I think AOC, Nancy Pelosi, they're pushing these bills to finally regulate Congress people trading stocks and owning stocks and things like that. So why would they do that? They are doing this because they know that the stock market is about to crash. And I think we all feel that too. With this war, the US petrodollar in decline, once Russia starts mandating that people in Europe and adversary countries need to buy their gasoline in rubles, trading in all this crap's happening right now. But Congress is not talking about regulating trading crypto or anything like that. We have guys like Peter Thiel making speeches about it. The surveillance god Peter Thiel talking about it. So it's happening. And just anticipate that the dollar will crash soon. The stock market will crash. That's why Congress is going to be passing laws to make it illegal to trade as a congressman or something, because the stock market won't be viable. It's not going to be a thing soon. It's not going to be strong. So they're just like, let's tell the peasants that we're going to regulate ourselves from trading on the stock market, but it's going to be worthless. And notice how everyone in Silicon Valley, and that might include me, speaks. This, I think it's the LSD in the water.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here. It's there's so much I was wrong about in 1999, but I thought I'd reflect on some of the things I was thinking at the time, give some perspective on what it means for the world today of 2022. And when I was running PayPal, when I was getting it started, the standard way I'd start an investor pitch I'd hold up several $100 bills and would always get people's attention. It's kind of
This is very awkward, what he does with the money. And just as him describing money, pretty weird.
hypnotic, even though, it's really weird. What is this? I mean, it's probably not very good as toilet paper. It's not good as wallpaper. It's sort of this crappy fiat money. It's a very mysterious thing. What is money? Is it a network effect? Would the gentleman in the front row like to have the money? Just somebody come up and get it. But I don't know how to throw it out at people. I thought you guys were supposed to be Bitcoin maximalists,
This reminds me of, I think when Microsoft went public, there's this video of Bill Gates and who's the other guy? Paul, whatever. They're like dancing, just like awkward Silicon Valley-ness. Again, probably the LSD.
And so this is like, it's like kind of crazy that this stuff still works, But when we were starting PayPal, we knew nothing about money, about banking, about payments, about any of this stuff. It was sort of all thought of from first principles. We probably got a lot very wrong. I'll mention the two slides that describe what we thought we were doing. This is the PayPal February 1999 seed round pitch. We were going to replace, we said the US Treasury, we actually meant the central bank. We didn't know the difference between the two.
Steve Ballmer, yeah, yep, he owns the Clippers. That's who that's who I was talking about. I don't know what I said. Paul, I think I was thinking about Paul Blart, the mall cop. That guy for sure does coke. Yep, they're in Miami, so
But it was going to be sort of a closed loop system, a new form of money, new network effect, electronic 21st century version of money. By 2002, at the time of the IPO, the PayPal business model looked like a funnel where the money went in and out fast. And I just, and you know, it was a payment system. And I wanted to just start that those two pictures, a closed network versus a funnel, are two very different pictures. You know, in some ways this was a practical business, but it was a decline. It was much less ambitious. Money goes in and out super fast. And I think one of the ways to think about.
so I'm going to skip a little bit ahead here because I think this part is a little bit doesn't make sense. Basically, what he's saying. This is what I always thought about, kind of strange about Bitcoin, and why I didn't understand it at first. Is because we already have kind of digital. I mean, who carries cash around? It's very. Actually, I have a little bit of cash on me right now, but you know, with PayPal and Venmo and things like that, we already kind of got used to it. But we take fiat money, this digital fiat money, we put it into a wallet, PayPal, Venmo, and we have transactions, but we have to take it out of that ecosystem and put it back into our bank to be able to pay our bills or whatever you do with your money. So they're basically what he described there is that he envisioned a closed system, and that's what Bitcoin can be, is a closed system outside of an exchange. You don't have to basically getting rid of fiat altogether. That was the plan all along for PayPal.
All of these different things. This is not a perspective I had at the time. But if you think about these different forms that money can take, you can have forms of money that are high velocity, where it moves super fast, but then you don't actually need that much in the form that it has. It's just like maybe an accounting device or something like that. And if you have forms of money, you know, and this is of course also analogous to something, these two different modalities confused. They're like radically different money that's actually sort of intermediate velocity, but it's in between. And because we always think of physical cash.
So basically what he's talking about is what I just explained, how money moves into PayPal, moves out of PayPal. Like that's what it is. There's like Bitcoin holds value or something like that. So if you want to watch this on your own, go ahead. It's kind of interesting, but
Cash, when we think of money, we tend to think store of value and sort of high velocity things are the amounts of intrinsic value. And there's probably something.
Okay, now he's kind of well,
about all those things that doesn't quite add up. You know, so if this is, by the way, this is I took this slide from Vitalik himself. So this was and there's sort of a question: how do we compare and contrast them? And so if we look at the current market caps, 830 billion versus 386 billion of Ethereum, but if we map Bitcoin onto gold and Ethereum onto Visa, well, Ethereum's worth roughly as much as Visa, so it's fairly valued. You know, if you have a seamless, frictionless payment system, it's worth $400 billion. As it works, the gas fees have to go down. It has to become completely frictionless to work. And then, whereas gold is 12 trillion, and if Bitcoin is going to replace gold, the question is really, why is it so undervalued? What is it going to take for it to go up the 10x? And I'm going to close on that a little bit later. We can.
So just notice how he speaks, very stutters, stops a lot. It's very Silicon Valley. That's like the way you communicate here. Like nervous, unable to speak because you're like, again, tripping out and nerdy.
Yeah, so there sort of are all these different ways Bitcoin is going to has every potential to replace gold. Question is why it has not done so yet. Now, I think if we take one step further back, we can even ask a question: why is gold worth $12 trillion? How much should all the gold in the world be worth? And if we look at, say, the 1970s, gold did remarkably well, and stocks were kind of a crappy investment, and it's sort of very different from today. So if you look at all the gold in the world today versus all the publicly traded equities in the world today, it's about 12 trillion of gold, 115 trillion of equities, roughly a 10-to-1 ratio. If you look at sort of the peak of the bull market in the late 70s, early 80s, where gold peaked at about $850 an ounce in nominal dollars. At the time, all the gold in the world was worth about $2.5 trillion. All the publicly traded equities were worth $2.5 trillion, and the ratio was actually 1-to-1.
So this is kind of important. Basically, in the 1970s, there was $2.5 trillion worth of gold, and all the equities in the world equaled that. Now we have $115 trillion worth of equities, but only 12 trillion of gold standards.
And so one of the questions you have to ask is, why is the ratio 10-to-1? Why can't it be 1-to-1? Maybe it should be 100-to-1. It can be all over the map. What defines these kinds of ratios? And I would say sort of one simple version is that in the 1970s, cash was trash, bonds were trash, but equities were pretty bad investments as well, because in an inflationary world, in a high regulation, high inflation, high tax world, the effective capital gains tax rate goes well north of 100%, because you don't set the basis on equities, you don't adjust it to inflation, and so equities become an extraordinarily bad investment. In the world of the 2010s, gold did pretty well, Bitcoin did extremely well, but the real competitor for Bitcoin is not Ethereum. That's a payment system. It's not even gold. It's something like the S&P 500. It's the stock market as a whole. And this is the way Bitcoin trades every day. If the stocks go up, Bitcoin goes up. Now it's like a highly levered Nasdaq stock on a day-to-day basis, and that is sort of, in a sense, the real competitor. And the question is whether we're headed towards a kind of 1970s style world where it's higher inflation, more regulation, and even being, you don't want to be in a stock or bond, but even being, sorry, you don't want to be in cash or a bond, but even being in a stock, you're effectively in something that's like a government-linked entity. Companies, woke companies, are sort of quasi-controlled by the government in a way that Bitcoin never will be. And in that sort of a world, I would submit that perhaps the way we should think of the Bitcoin to equity ratio, the benchmark for Bitcoin is not gold, but equities. And the question is, why can't there be parity between Bitcoin and equities? Why shouldn't we be talking about something more like 100-to-1?
So notice he talks about woke companies. He's invested in all of these woke companies. Just letting you guys know.
which of course won't be as good as it sounds, because the fiat money will be worth a lot less and it'll be taxed pretty heavily and whatnot. But I think
So notice that fiat money is going to be taxed very heavily.
but I'm still hopeful that if Bitcoin goes up by a factor of 100, you'll make some money, a modest amount of money, in real terms. Now, there are sort of at the very minimum, what I think, it's always hard to know where Bitcoin goes from here. It's $43,000 today. Where does it go?
Bitcoin right now is kind of down. It's like $39,000 per coin.
What I like to say is that Bitcoin is always the most honest market in the world. It's the most efficient market, and it was the canary in the coal mine. It was telling us that the inflation was coming in the last 2 years, as it went from 6,000 up by a factor of 10x. It is telling us that the central banks are bankrupt, that we are at the end of the fiat money regime, and that's sort of what it has priced in. I think the central bankers, Mr. Powell, people like that, should be extremely grateful to Bitcoin, because it's the last warning they're going to get. They've chosen to ignore it, and they will have to pay the consequences for that in the years ahead.
So Peter Thiel himself has said that central banks are done. Central banks are done.
But let me come back to this question. Why has Bitcoin not yet gone to 100,000 to $1 million of Bitcoin? Why has it not yet converged with gold, or even with the equity markets more broadly? And what is it going to take for this to happen? And I know that sort of the ways we often talk about businesses or technologies is how great the technology is, how great the code is, how great the math is, how it's sort of innovative. But I want to sort of suggest that we should maybe think of it at least in one dimension as sort of a political question, and it's a movement, and it's a political question whether this movement is going to succeed, or whether the enemies of the movement are going to succeed in stopping us. And so I want to maybe end with an enemies list.
So Peter Thiel is talking about being part of the movement, the Bitcoin movement.
A list of people who I think are stopping Bitcoin, and they all have, many of them have, there's sort of a lot of them, they tend to have this sort of nameless, faceless bureaucrat perspective, which is of course one of the ways they hide. But we're gonna try to expose them and realize that this is sort of what we have to fight for Bitcoin to go 10x or 100x from here. So enemy number one.
It's just funny. He's like enemy number one. What's this guy's name? George Buffett or something? Walter Buffett? I don't know. Something Buffett. Warren Buffett.
I think he's sort of. I think the sort of the sociopathic grandpa from Omaha is perhaps the most honest and the most direct in it, and you have to sort of think of it's of course on some level these people aren't always just talking their book. It's sort of they have some sort of institutional bias. It's long, a list of woke companies. It's somehow long this fiat money system, and of course there's always a sense if you're a money manager, you want to pretend that it's complicated to invest, and if all you have to do is buy Bitcoin, that's like ridiculous. All these people are out of business. It's there was a version of this also with gold. They never liked gold either, because if all you had to do was own gold, that's something everybody can do. But there's sort of an institutional bias, sort of a
I think that's kind of true what he says right here. It's very easy, especially now, to buy Bitcoin. I think it was a little bit harder to buy Bitcoin like 10 years ago. Probably should have done it when it was like 12 cents a Bitcoin or whatever. But it's very easy to buy Bitcoin. Just don't use Coinbase.
center-left political bias. There's of course the New York City banker bias. Jamie Dimon, J.P. Morgan. You can get quotes like this from any number of these people.
This is funny. He keeps on, "Hey Jared, how's it going?" Yeah, I've been trying to buy Monero. Can't find like I don't have I'm not signed up on an exchange to buy Monero. So I haven't been able to, but it's on my to-do list. A little bit more private, apparently. I know Derek Bros talks about it a lot, or he's talked about it. Um,
And then I would say, another one, even more obscure, Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, where
yeah, and it's funny, he's like talking about these people like they're his enemies, but they're his friends.
if you have these sort of large institutional investors, they need to be allocating some of their money to.
All of these guys own stock in the companies that Peter Thiel invested in early on. So, he's talking about like they're in a different class. They're probably older than him, obviously, but they're in the same class, the ruling class.
Bitcoin, when they manage state pension funds in the U.S. or they get trillions of dollars in assets, when they choose not to allocate to Bitcoin, that is a deeply political choice, and we need to be pushing back on them. We need to say, you have to get on board on this. And
See, he says, um, all these guys are like against Bitcoin, and we need to push them to be for Bitcoin. We need the institutional old financial guys to start investing in Bitcoin, telling us that we're going to be going this way. It's obvious. If you like, I don't even have to go into too much detail. We all know we're going towards this way, but it's just I think we've all noticed that they've been talking about it a lot lately, even more. And like I mentioned with my earlier comment, um, Congress is trying to AOC and all these people are trying to say like, hey, we're going to regulate the stock market, and Congress shouldn't own stocks anymore. It's because they know that the stock market is in a crash. So like, it's a bad investment to be. I'm not a finance person. I took a couple finance courses in college, but I'm not providing any financial advice during this stream. But they know that the stock market's going to crash, so people aren't aware of that. So we're going to hype it up and say we're going to regulate Congress to be able to trade that shit, but it's going to be worthless anyways. We should be calling on Congress not to regulate the people on cryptocurrencies, but regulate Congress on trading that shit.
Larry Fink quote is sort of representative, I think, of a whole genre of anti-Bitcoin things.
Jared, so I mean, I'm streaming about this. I don't really follow too much. I know what's his name, Buki or whatever. Anytime Bitcoin's down, he buys more. But there's going to be some sort of Bitcoin city in El Salvador. Didn't really follow him too closely, but I do know that more Latin American countries are are now putting in laws or talking about it in their senates to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. So started by I think I'm always going to be an advocate for Latin America, but I think revolution will start there. We can see it.
Things where, and you have to always put it in some context, but pro-blockchain is an anti-Bitcoin term. Very
No worries. I'm gonna get. I feel like I keep pausing the stream, but let me know if you guys want to listen to this guy. I'm just trying to have my commentary in between. I'm gonna rewind it a couple seconds.
sort of representative, I think, of a whole genre of anti-Bitcoin things where, and you have to always put it in some context, but pro-blockchain is an anti-Bitcoin term, very typically. So it's like, I love the blockchain, but not so sure about this Bitcoin. Don't need Bitcoin. We can move on to the blockchain. Move along. This is not, not the currency you're looking for. Move along. Move along. But if we sort of combine.
We'll need to talk about that really quick, but that's what I hear a lot of people. Everyone is talking about how blockchain is a good idea because you can track people and things like that, but no one is for Bitcoin.
All of these things, I would sort of put the label on the sort of on the sort of the label they've come up with, and perhaps the real enemy is ESG.
Hang on. Just so everyone knows what ESG is, it's environmental, social, and corporate governance. So it's an approach to evaluate the extent to which corporation works on behalf of social goals that go beyond the role of a corporation to maximize profits on behalf of corporations' shareholders. So basically, I think he talks about like being Bitcoin's not environmentally friendly or something. That's like everyone's argument.
And which it's always sort of unclear what it means. You might think of it as not charitable for me to sort of name some enemies here, but I think that ESG is just a hate factory. It's a factory for naming enemies, and we should not be allowing them to do that. Or that of course you can sort of always ask the question, what's the difference between ESG and CCP, the Chinese Communist Party? They are into social and governance. Environmental is sort of fake. It's probably also fake in a lot of these cases. But I always think when you think ESG, you should be thinking CCP. There's some degree. It's been a surprise. ESG has been surprisingly inclusive. Basically, as far as I can tell, the only things that are sort of not liked are some of the carbon industries, and then Bitcoin. And it's because most of the other companies, they are subject to political control, especially when your companies go public. I always advise CEOs when they take their companies public. There's some good things. You get liquidity. You can, the early investors can cash out. You can get some credibility. But it's basically taking a company public. It's a de facto government takeover where some people who are effectively government bureaucrats became more empowered. It's the CFO, the general counsel, the accountants, the lawyers, the HR people. All these sort of extensions of the state are given more power, and we have to think of ESG as sort of this vast umbrella thing, and we're sort of one of the great features of Bitcoin, and it's always a question whether it's a bug or a feature, but I would submit that in the sort of more heavy-handed statist world, it is far more of a feature than a bug, is that Bitcoin is not a company. It does not have a board. We do not know who Satoshi is. And in some ways, all these things seemed extreme in the world of the 2010s, where the inflation was low, the regulations were not the worst, and it seems extremely prescient for the world of the 2020s. And if we had to summarize this in one frame, it is the finance gerontocracy that runs the country through whatever silly virtue signaling / hate factory term like ESG they have, versus what I would call what we have to think of as a revolutionary youth movement.
Peter Thiel thinks that Bitcoin is a revolutionary youth movement. Kind of have to agree. Take whatever you think about Bitcoin and blockchain and cryptocurrencies. They're going to enslave us and all that stuff. I think we do have to accept that that's the future, no matter what. And if you want to trade and barter, you can do that. But
And we have to just go out from this conference and take over the world. Thank you very much.
Welcome back. We're here at the
I remember all the drama a while back over the big fork. It was Bitcoin's force the vote moment. Yeah. I mean, I'm not like, I do, because I understand that the petrodollar is over, and so I am like buying more crypto and things like that, particularly Bitcoin. Similar to you, Jared, like I saw your comment about you made most money on Dogecoin. I'm holding hella Doge because I made a little bit of money on that, but I didn't make a lot because I was very noobish and had all of my Dogecoin in Robinhood. So I didn't kind of learned that you don't really own your crypto on Robinhood. They own it. But I didn't make too much money, but I do now own my own Doge, my own wallet, and I'm holding onto it. I'm just hoping that it goes up in value once the stock market crashes a bit more. All right, so do you want to yeah. Do you want to just kind of close out with Peppa Malgren at the World Government Summit? She's talking about the blockchain. So just to close it out, we got all the right people. We have the Peter Thiels of the world and bureaucrats at the World Government Summit talking about the New World Order and the new digital finance.
A world order is always the
Oh,
what underpins a world order. What underpins a world order is always the financial system. I was very privileged. My father was an advisor to Nixon when they came off the gold standard in '71, and so I was brought up with a kind of inside view of how very important the financial structure is to absolutely everything else. And what we're seeing in the world today, I think, is we are on the brink of a dramatic change where we are about to, and I'll say this boldly, we're about to abandon the traditional system of money and accounting and introduce a new one. And the new accounting is what we call blockchain.
They're talking about it, everybody. Congress is getting out of fiat, getting out of the stock market, and we're going into the blockchain.
It means digital. It means having a almost perfect record of every single transaction that happens in the economy, which will give us far greater clarity over what's going on. It also raises huge dangers in terms of the balance of power between states and citizens. In my opinion, we're going to need a digital constitution of human rights if we're going to have digital money. But also, this new money will be sovereign in nature. Most people think that digital money is crypto and private, but what I see are superpowers introducing digital currency. The Chinese were the first. The US is on the brink, I think, of moving in the same direction. The Europeans have committed to that as well. And
Jared, that's hella funny. I never bought anything off the Silk Road, especially not weed. Kind of just can get it anywhere. Um, yeah, I have, living. I moved up into the Bay Area like in 2013, I think. So Bitcoin is pretty new. Um, but I honestly regret not buying, just like, instead of buying beer one week, like at the grocery store, and just bought some Bitcoin and saved it, because I had friends who would talk about it, and I would be like, that's dumb. Why not use PayPal? Why not use Venmo? What the fuck is this like Bitcoin thing about? So I regret it. I regret not listening. Um, but even these friends that were telling me about it sold it when it was like $10. So they didn't even make that much money either, and they regret not holding on to it. Um, so I'm a little bit behind in the game, but um, you know, what are you gonna do?
And the question is, will that new system of digital money and digital accounting accommodate the competing needs of the citizens of all these locations so that every human being has a chance to have a better life? Because that's the only measure of whether a world order really serves.
Whoa. All right, guys. Thank you for joining the Apocalypse stream.
You know, we just
I'm going to be closing out the show. Thank you for joining. As I just mentioned, it's time for me to go get my fat ass out on a run. My dog's waiting to go. Thanks, Les Bones. I appreciate the compliment. I will catch you guys in the YouTube chats later. I don't know who's streaming right now. Does anyone know? Probably won't get on for like 45 minutes, but let me see. Trying to get regular as far as streaming, but it's hard. It's hard to stream when there's like so many people that stream, and they got like fancy cameras, and they got the whole story, and they have time to research. I have a full-time job. I don't have time to research. Um, I don't have time to like think about segments and things like that. So I think I'm just gonna start just streaming things I'm watching. I don't really know. It's hard. But all right, I'm appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. Remember to do your part to support the people of Ukraine. Like, share, and subscribe to the broadcasts. Slava inflation. Follow me on Twitter. Thanks a lot. Have a good rest of your night. Peace out.